一架以太阳能当作唯一动力来源的飞机阳光动力2号，今天在阿拉伯联合大公国的首都阿布达比成功降落，成为史上第一架完成环球飞行的太阳能飞机。阳光动力2号是由前瑞士空军飞行员博尔施伯格以及精神病理学家皮卡德集资打造，他们同时也是阳光动力2号的飞行员。超过10年的努力，终于完成环绕世界1周的创举。这架太阳能飞机于2015年3月9日于阿布达比起航，途经4大洲和3大洋共17段的航程，全程没有使用任何传统燃料。其中最长的一段航程是从日本名古屋飞往美国的夏威夷， 两地距离约8924公里。而阳光动力2号连续飞行了117个小时又52分钟，打破了太阳能飞机连续飞行时间的世界纪录。历时1年5个月后，阳光动力2号再度返抵阿布达比。两位飞行员下机时难掩兴奋，给予彼此拥抱，并高举双手宣告他们的成功。而这项创举也让太阳能的发展向前迈进一大步。上报国际中心整理报道。
D'Europe ligne 4h05, 4h15 le rollout. Donc en gros à 4h05, venez prendre votre position que je puisse ouvrir la porte, en tout cas les gens sous l'aile. Pour info, on va faire le rollout sans avoir le go de flight test, c'est-à-dire qu'on va sortir, puis peut-être qu'ils nous disent non finalement on rentre. Mais 90% de chances qu'ils nous fassent oui c'est bon, continuez. Crushing my fingers.
One more.
Yeah.
One more.
Right, okay, one more.
Good night.
Exciting.
Enjoy. I will do it.
Enjoy it, exactly, that's the...
Yeah.
Huh?
Nice.
Fabulous moment.
Yeah, good moments yesterday. It's even better today, I guess.
Discover something new.
And remember, if it rains, we have a watertight airplane.
No, yeah. But the test was to be delayed a little bit.
Next checkpoint would be the flight control suite. It looks like we have everyone ready, and you are clear to proceed, Marcus. All the best from the whole team. Have a good flight. Tail will lift off. When will lift off? 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 5. Main wheel touchdown. Main wheel stop.
This is Heart's Content, a small community in Trinity Bay on the island of Newfoundland. It's a quiet morning today, but more than 100 years ago, thousands of people lined this waterfront to watch history being made. On July 27, 1866, the largest steamship on Earth entered this port to lay down the final section of an underwater telegraph cable that stretched all the way back to Ireland. It connected Europe with North America. News that once took more than a week to travel by steamship could now arrive in minutes. And it was through the tiny fishing village of Heart's Content that some of the world's greatest cities now communicated. The telegraph was a marvel of modern technology, the 19th century equivalent of text messaging. This device sent electrical pulses racing across a wire. Telegraph operators pressed the knob down for a short time to create a dot and a longer time to create a dash. These dots and dashes formed an alphabet called Morse code. That was the language of the telegraph. The first commercial telegraph line began operating in 1844. It connected Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, Maryland. A decade later, vast networks of telegraph lines connected much of North America and Europe. But communications between the two continents still had to travel across the Atlantic Ocean by steamship. It was about an 8-day journey if the weather was good. The laying of the Atlantic telegraph cable was the dream of two men, an American millionaire named Cyrus Field and a British engineer living in Canada named Frederick Gisborne. Gisborne was the first to become interested in the telegraph. In 1847, he spearheaded a plan to lay a line between Quebec and Halifax. 4 years later, he decided to extend that line to Newfoundland. Engineers in Europe had recently laid a cable across the English Channel, so Gisborne knew that technology existed to lay another one beneath the waters that separated Newfoundland from Nova Scotia. His plan was to wire the island and then plug it into the North American grid. Gisborne found wealthy investors for his plan in New York. He also received support from the Newfoundland government. On September 2, 1851, Gisborne began the Herculean task of surveying the telegraph route by foot. He was accompanied by 6 other men. They spent 3 back-breaking months exploring Newfoundland's southern interior, looking for a route that the telegraph line could take through the rugged and largely undeveloped landscape. Hunger and exhaustion were persistent problems.
October 27th, wind, west-southwest, blowing a gale. Cleared up at 7:30 a.m. We again drew lots for the bread, there being but 6 biscuits for each man, and our venison near out. As Hare Bay Brook, a considerable stream at all times, was now a river, we set to work at the raft, and then 2 and 2 crossed over without accident. Ticklish work, this rafting business.
On December 4th, Gisborne returned to St. John's, his long journey finally complete. 3 months later, the St. John's to Carbonear line officially opened for business. But the project ran into serious financial problems in the summer of 1853, when its pot of money ran dry. Gisborne traveled to New York looking for more investors. In 1854, he met Cyrus Field, a self-made millionaire with a flair for business and a sense of adventure. Recently retired from a profitable venture in the paper industry, Field was looking for an exciting new project. He became interested in Gisborne's plan, but he had a grander vision. Instead of just connecting Newfoundland with Nova Scotia, Field wanted to build a cable that would extend all the way across the Atlantic Ocean and end in Ireland. If the project was successful, it would earn Field a second fortune and a permanent place in history. Gisborne had found himself a wealthy and enthusiastic supporter. Field attracted more investors to the project, and work progressed quickly. By October 1856, the overland line from St. John's to Cape Ray had been built, as well as the submarine line to Nova Scotia. Gisborne's partnership with Field had certainly turned out to be a productive one, but it was far from peaceful. Conflict plagued their working relationship. When the Trans-Island line was complete, Gisborne left the project. Field pushed on. With Newfoundland firmly wired into the North American grid, the next step was to establish a European connection. It was an enormous challenge. Building an underwater cable that could span the ocean pushed the limits of 19th century science and engineering. To function underwater, the wire had to be coated in a rare and expensive material called gutta percha. It was a natural plastic that came from trees in Southeast Asia. At the center of Field's transatlantic cable were 7 strands of copper wire which carried the electrical signal. They were coated in 3 layers of gutta percha. Then a protective outer covering of iron wire had to be wound around the entire length of cable. The final product looked like this. 10 kilometers of wire weighed about 8 tons. To make it across the ocean, the team needed 3,200 kilometers of wire. That would weigh a staggering 2,500 tons. No single ship existed on the planet that could carry such a load. Determined to see his plan come to fruition, Field turned to the United States and British navies. He asked each superpower for the loan of a single vessel, able to carry 1,250 tons. His plan was to cut the wire in 2 and divide it among the ships. Both navies said yes. On July 29, 1858, the USS Niagara and HMS Agamemnon met in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Each ship was carrying half of the transatlantic telegraph cable. The 2 ends were spliced together and dropped to the sea floor. Then each vessel steamed off in opposite directions, all the while lowering telegraph cable into the waters. On August 4th, the Niagara arrived at Bull Arm in Trinity Bay, Newfoundland. 1 day later, the Agamemnon steamed into the port of Valencia, Ireland. From a house in Trinity Bay and a tent in Valencia, the world's first transatlantic telegraph messages were sent and received. Queen Victoria wired words of congratulations to the U.S. President James Buchanan. He replied that the telegraph symbolized a bond of peace between kindred nations. But the bond was short-lived. There were problems with the connection right from the start. The Queen's message had taken hours to arrive instead of minutes. As time passed, the connection grew weaker. Words became garbled, phrases lost in transmission. The telegraph line fell silent altogether 27 days after it started operating. After years of work and millions of dollars in investments, the continents were once again cut off. Although the project had used some of the most innovative technology of the day, that technology was largely untested. Most damaging of all were the excessively powerful batteries used to send the electric pulses across the wire. The voltage was so high that it burned a hole in the precious gutta percha needed to insulate the wire. The press dismissed the project as a fiasco. Some newspapers even said it was a hoax designed to bilk gullible investors out of their fortunes. None of this deterred Cyrus Field from his goal. He poured more of his own money into the project and secured even more investors. A new wire was manufactured, and it improved upon previous mistakes. An extra layer of gutta percha was added to the core. So was a new waterproof insulating material called Chatterton's compound. And a new invention called the mirror galvanometer made it possible to detect low voltage signals. Field also decided that using 2 wires and 2 vessels introduced far too many risks. He wanted a single, unbroken wire to span the Atlantic. Fortunately, by the time that new wire was ready in 1865, a mammoth new steamship existed that could carry the load. It was called the Great Eastern, and it was 5 times larger than any other vessel in the world. Weighing in at 19,000 tons and measuring 200 meters long, the vessel was a floating city. But its great bulk required an enormous harbor. Bull Arm was no longer suitable, so Field searched for another site. And he found it in the tiny fishing community of Heart's Content. Its harbor was wide enough and deep enough to accommodate the massive Great Eastern. On July 13, 1866, the vessel departed Valencia, Ireland, on its extraordinary mission. One of the passengers on board was John C. Dean of the Anglo-American Telegraph Company. He recorded the journey in his diary.
Tuesday, July 24th. Breakfast at 8, lunch at 1. Dinner at 6, tea at 8. 502 souls who live on board this huge ship following their prescribed occupations. Cable going out merrily. Electrical tests and signals perfect. And this is the history of what has taken place from noon yesterday to noon today. May we have 3 more days of such delightful monotony. It rained very hard during yesterday evening, and as we approach the banks of Newfoundland, we get thick and hazy weather.
At daybreak on July 27th, 1866, the Great Eastern arrived at Heart's Content. Thousands of people were waiting on shore. They had come from across Newfoundland, Canada, and the United States to watch the mighty steamer and its historic cargo arrive at the village. It took 50 men to pull the cable ashore, and one of them was Cyrus Field himself. They brought it into the telegraph station and wired it into the grid. A permanent connection was finally established between Europe and North America.
Heart's Content will awaken to the fact that it is a highly favored place in the world's esteem, the western landing place of that marvel of electric communication with the Eastern Hemisphere, which is now happily, and we hope finally, established.
The cable was a success. It carried about 1,000 messages a month at up to $10 a word. By 1894, 5 more cables connected Newfoundland to Ireland. Commercial, political, and social messages sped across the ocean and throughout the continents. And at the center of it all was a tiny community named Heart's Content. Although the cable station stopped operating in 1985, it is still open to the public as a heritage site. Inside, visitors can see rooms of telegraph equipment. Outside, they can see the transatlantic telegraph cables themselves, slender conduits that were once responsible for wiring the world.
家の南谷マリンさんです。日本人で初めてエクスプローラーズグランドスラムを達成しました。
これは冒険家が 北極点と南極点、それに世界7大陸の最高峰を全て制覇したということで、本当にすごい記録なんです。
ですね。南谷さんは今月12日北極点に到達。その冒険を振り返りました。
昨日帰国しまして、ノルウェーのスバルバードはマイナス30度ほど、日本はとっても暑くても50度ぐらいの温度差があって失神するかと思いました。
昨日帰国した南谷マリンさん、20歳でのエクスプローラーズグランドスラム達成は世界最年少の記録です。挑戦を始めたのは一昨年1月。南アメリカ大陸アルゼンチンのアコンカグアから始まり、各大陸の最高峰を次々と制覇。去年5月には世界最高峰のエベレスト、7月には北アメリカ大陸にあるデナリに登頂し、北極点を残すのみとなっていました。今月、北緯89度地点から氷河伝いにスキーで目指した北極点。厳しい寒さに見舞われ、簡単な道のりではありませんでした。
一緒だったベルギーの冒険している方、彼が朝起きたら指先が真っ黒になっていたんです。で、凍傷でもう一人のメンバー疲労でもう歩けなくなってしまい、最終的には4人のメンバーで北極点へと向かうことになりました。
さらに北極熊がおよそ10メートルまで近づいたことも。
白熊が私のソリからサラミを食べ始めたんですもうこんなにパニックで走ったことはないくらい、もう転びながら走ってリーダーのもとに行って、北極熊がいる最終的には銃で威嚇して熊は逃げていきました。
そして北極点に到達した瞬間をこう振り返りました。
地球のこう丸みがもう何にもないとこですが、その丸みが見えるんです。なんて美しいんだろう。
南谷さんは早くも次の挑戦を思い描いていました。
次のチャレンジは海です。世界一周しながらところどころの港に泊まっては、自分と夢の距離を決めるのは自分なんだということを、私自身自分の夢を実現させながら伝えていきたい。
表情が輝いていましたね。次のチャレンジも成功を祈ります。
世界体育中心这天很荣幸邀请到一位来自日本的登山家，他在2016年以19岁的年龄完成了征服世界7顶峰的创举，成为世界第2年轻的女性玩攀者，同时也是日本最年轻的纪录保持人。让我们欢迎南さん南谷真铃小姐。
你好，我高兴认识你，能有机会接受这个采访，我非常荣幸到这里。我叫真铃，今年20岁，现在在日本早稻田大学学习政治和经济。
马听说你从小因为爸爸工作的关系，住过很多地方，包括了讲中文地区的香港跟上海。那你会跟我分享你的成长经历，跟你是怎么对登山这件事情产生兴趣的呢？
我出生在东京，后来到马来西亚，又到过大连和上海。我很小的时候去过很多不同的学校，比方说加拿大学校、美国学校、中国的、日本的、英国的。所以呢，我有一点迷失了，不知道我是哪里人。当我爬山的时候，我感觉山很大，自己很渺小，感觉我就属于自然。
所以其实Marine的成长过程是非常的国际化的，然后也认识了很多人，去过了很多地方。那你是怎么在去年的时候，对于这个设定要去 Seven Summit 去完成这个目标，怎么会有这么疯狂但是又很热血的想法呢？我应该是只有想等珠穆朗玛峰，
我看到了周围小的喜马拉雅山脉，非常感动。我脑子里没有想其他的事情，我只有我自己，充满了能量。通过这些运动，让我自己变成了完整的自己。我决定去爬更多山，所以我去了很多世界上，各种各样不同的地方去爬山。以后我爬了 Seven Summits， 很多山，所以我觉得因为我爬了那么多 Seven Summits 的山，那就完成这个 project 吧。